Hey guys, Asap here, and welcome to this tutorial on setting up your own server. This is meant as like a precursor to a PHP series I'm going to be starting to do. A lot of people have asked for PHP, so I thought why not. And whilst JavaScript is good for certain things, you don't really use it. Well, you do use it, but like you use PHP a lot more. And seeming as we've pretty much covered all we really need to cover in JavaScript for stuff that we use JavaScript for, and lots of other people have been saying, let's do some PHP tutorials now. I thought, why not? So, yeah, so basically, this tutorial is going to be on setting up a server in preparation for learning PHP. Now the reason we do this is because PHP isn't like HTML. You can't just double click the file and it runs. You need to have a web server with PHP installed, and there are two ways you can do that. In this tutorial I'm mainly going to be covering the home server way, which is I'd say it's probably preferable because it's easy to it's a lot easier to use than using a server Freehost or something. Okay, but I will talk about Freehosts quickly. Anyway, so if you want to do the home server option, what you're going to need to do is Google WAMP. Oops, not WAMP. WAMP. Okay. I can't remember if I've done a tutorial on this, but if I have, I'm just going to do another one because I probably didn't do that last one too well. So we're going to be using WAMP. People might have heard of something called XAMPP or XAMPP, which is pretty much the same thing as WAMP, except I prefer WAMP. And so yeah, really, I'd stick with WAMP if I were you, because I'm going to be using it. So while you can probably figure out stuff where it is in XAMPP, it's easier to just do it directly the same as I'm doing it with WAMP. So yeah, go into WAMP, wampserver.com, and go ahead and find downloads, and you download WAMP Server 2.0. Okay, that's the one you want, and that's really easy to install. It's basically like any normal Windows installer. Okay, so sorry guys, I've just paused because I've realized the resolution I'm doing this in is not the resolution YouTube now uses, and I'm really pissed because I wanted to remind myself to change it. Okay, this tutorial will be in bad resolution, but the next tutorial I'll make sure I do it in good resolution, okay? And also, I'm rendering my videos now, so you can watch them in HD. Not that it makes much difference, because I do them so small, but, just if anyone wants HDN. So, yeah. Anyway, let's talk about what WAMP is. Basically, when you set up a home server, you need Apache. I think that's all you actually need, but what WAMP does is, on a home server, you need Apache. That's the server. Apache is the actual server. But you can install optional things like MySQL and PHP. Now, MySQL is a databasing system which we'll look at once we're further into PHP and we start using databases, and databases can get really sticky and they can be a pain to use sometimes, but for the moment all you're actually going to need is that PHP bit, but we will need MySQL eventually, so it's always good to have it. So what WAMP server does is it installs all of those Apache, MySQL and PHP in one installer. If you go ahead and install those separately, you've got to setting it up can be a real pain. It's like on Linux when you have to build files yourself, and then configure all the options, or on Unix as well, and it's really tough for someone who, I mean, maybe, you know, like me, I don't really know how to do that, but I'm okay with programming. But you guys might be in the same position, so maybe you don't want to do that. What WAMP does is it takes all the hassle out of it, and it just installs those really easy with a simple to understand installer. So yeah, go ahead and install that. Once you've got it, you should have a WAMP folder wherever you installed it. It's in my E folder. See, I've got WAMP here. And now we're going to place all our files in this www folder. Don't place your files directly inside the www folder, because WAMP actually has this index.php page which renders stuff really nicely, so you get a nice set out of all the folders and you can go to everything really nicely. So don't put them in here. Make separate folders inside the www file, and put all your stuff inside here. You can see I've made a tutorials folder inside that www folder for all the tutorials, and I've got various other folders for all the other stuff I'm doing. There's one thing I actually need to talk to people about, but I've forgotten what that is, so I'm going to put that in another video, probably the first PHP video. I'll just do like a little side note thing. And that's about ports and Apache, which can be a problem in certain cases, and I'll talk about it, as I said, in the first PHP tutorial. So that's using a home server. The other option you have is using a Freehost. Now it's easy to find those. You just Google Freehost, like that. Okay. Tons of them come up. You'll probably see them on the side like this. Even when you're not searching for free web hosting, you'll probably see lots of rubbish about web hosting and stuff on the Google ads. So it's really easy to find stuff. What you want to do when you get a free host is make sure that it says, like here, it says PHP and MySQL. That's what you want, okay? You want to always make sure it has PHP and MySQL, because if it doesn't, for instance, FreeWebs doesn't support PHP, let alone MySQL. So you wouldn't actually be able to do any of the tutorials on FreeWebs. That said, FreeWebs is just about the only FreeHost I know that doesn't give PHP and MySQL support. So yeah, it's pretty rare basically. But before you sign up to free hosting, make sure you check it out a bit, because some of these can be a bit shady. They might try and install some crap on your computer, which is probably why free hosting isn't the most preferred option compared to home servers. But if you have to go to free hosting, make sure you check everything out. Also, stuff where it says 5 GB of space and 50 GB of bandwidth, that's unrealistic, really. I mean, I don't know why a free host would give you 5 GB of space. So that's probably not a very legit website. Don't try that one, basically. Here, 200 megabytes, that's more believable. But guys, really, you don't need to worry about space. Your files, unless you've got hundreds of them, they shouldn't take up more than, let's say, 10 megabytes, unless, you know, once you start putting images in there, the file size gets a bit bigger. But really, anything with 50 gigs, 50 megs or above, you know, generally it starts around 100, but 50 megs or above should be perfectly fine for hosting. So there you go, guys. Pick whichever you prefer, free hosting or home server, preferably WAMP, as I've said. And I'll see you fellas in the next tutorial.